Hello guys, welcome to another video. This one is paper 2 of November 2001. This one is also a requested question. So with that being said, let's move on to the questions. Let's begin with section A, where you have to answer all the questions in this section. So let's move on to the first one, question number 1. So here we have, in the diagram, AB is a vertical wall. As you can see, here we have AB, which is a vertical wall. Okay, now a beam CD of length 11, this is the beam CD of length 11, rests at one end, D, on the ground. Okay, so because AD is on the ground and AB is vertical, we can see this is 90 degrees. So that's the first thing given to us as well to help us with finding the answers to the questions. Now, given that AD is 8, BD is 15 and angle BDC is 55. So with that information, right, everything right here, first one, calculate the length of AB. Okay, so that's the first thing we need to find. Now if you look at the diagram, where is AB? AB is simply your vertical length, right? So one thing we can do right now is we can try to take the shape out. So what do I mean? For example, if you take out the shape of, let's say I take out B, A, D, as you can see, this forms a triangle. This is A, this is D, and this is B. This is 90, this is 15, and this is 8. Now we want to find this side. Now this one is very easy, as you can see, because it is a right angle triangle, as you can see, right angle. Because of that, we can use the Pythagoras theorem. So which means we can have x squared plus 8 squared. This have to be 15 squared. Solve for x, so x squared have to be 15 squared minus 8 squared. So that will give you what? 161. So x squared will be 161, and finally the value of x has to be square root of 161. That will be what? 12.7, correct to 3SF. So first one, the length of AB is in meters. It will be 12.7 meters. Okay, now let's move on to part 2. For part B, we have to find the length of cable BC. Okay, now where's BC? BC is right here. Now again, the same concept. Let's see what we can use from the diagram to find BC. Now by observation, we can take out this triangle. We have B here, we have C here, and here we have D, right? So let's take out this triangle, BCD. Okay, so here we have the triangle. This is D, this is C, and this is B. So we know this side, we know this side, and we know this is the angle 55 given to you as well. Now we are trying to find this side. Let's call this y. So how would you find the length of y? So if you can observe, we have a triangle BDC. We know these two sides and we know the angle in between. So when you know those things, we can use the cosine rule to find y. So let's do that. So I will continue this over here. So cosine will be cosine of the angle 55 is equal to the sum of the square, of the both sides, so 15 square plus 11 square minus the one we are trying to find, which is y square, over 2 times the two sides, as follows. So this is the formula we have to use for the cosine rule to find this value of y. Again, why can we use the cosine rule here? Is because we know the two sides, we know the angle in between, and we're trying to find the third side. So because of that, we can use the cosine rule. Now we just have to solve for the value of y. So first thing first, we can cross multiply. Okay, so 2 times 15 times 11, which is this one, that will be 330. You will have 330 cos of 55 is equal to 15 square plus 11 square. That will be 346 minus y square. So let's first solve for the value of y square. So y square will be what? Will be 346 minus 330 cos of 55, of course, has to be in degrees. That will be 156.72. So finally, y will be square root of that. That will be 12.5 as your answer. So BC has to be the value of 12.5 meters. Okay, so now let's move on to the part C of the question. Now here we have to find the angle between the beam CD and the ground. Okay, so we have to find, this is CD and the ground is here, so we have to find the angle between them. This is the one we'd have to find. So as you can see, if you just look at this side, it is kind of hard to see what we can use to find the angle. So we need to think, what else can we use in this whole diagram to try to find this angle? So the first thing I can do is I can try to just let this be angle of alpha for now. So what can we find first? If you observe, we can first find this angle. Let's call this theta. So let's first find theta, then we can find alpha. How? If you observe this whole thing right here, because this is a flat line or a horizontal line, we know that the sum of all this angle have to give you 180. So which means we have theta plus 55 plus alpha have to give you 180. Right, I hope that makes sense till now. Now we are trying to find the value of alpha. Alpha has to be 180 minus 55 and minus theta. So we have to find this value of theta to help us to find the value of alpha. Now, how do you find the value of theta? If you observe, we can take out the triangle again, the triangle of ABD. So let's do that. You have this triangle, right? This is A, this is D, and this is B. This is 15, this is 8, and we're trying to find the angle of theta. Now, because it is a right angle triangle, to find the angle, we can use SOHCAHTOA to find the angle. So, ka and toa. Now, this is the A side, the adjacent side, right? So, if you have a side between the 90 degrees and the angle, it is always going to be called the A side. So that's how you find the A side. It is always between the right angle and the angle to be found. Now, the side opposite the 90 degrees or the right angle is called the hypotenuse, so HH. So here we have to use cos. As you can see, that will be cos, C for cos. A will be this side, 8. So cos of the angle obviously has to be A, which is 8, over H, which is 15. Now to find this value, pretty easy. That will be cos inverse of 8 over 15. So cos inverse of 8 over 15. That will be 57.8. That will be the angle of alpha. Now going back here to find, this is theta. So to find the angle of alpha, replace back in your equation, you will have 180 minus 55 minus 57.8. That will be 67.2. Okay, so this will be 67.2 degrees for the angle between the beam CD and the horizontal line. So the main idea here is that we always have to use the given information, and let's see how can you break it down one by one or take out pieces of the diagram to see how can you find the answer step by step. As you can see, there's a few basic things you need to know, which is this theorem, which is called the Pythagoras theorem. This one, SOHCAHTOA, pretty easy. The cosine rule, and sometimes you have to know the sine rule. So those are the basic things to know to work out these questions. That is your question number 1. Now let's move on to question number 2. So part of a pattern of numbers is shown in the table below. As you can see, we have number 1, number 2, 3, 4, and 5. These are the terms 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and n. Now, this is my first sequence, second sequence, third, and fourth sequence. So now for part A, study the patterns and write down the value of P, Q, R, and S. So P, Q, R, and S. So one by one, let's do that. So first, I think I will need some space to do this question actually. So let me try to do this here. So let's first try to find the value of P. P, right? So let's begin with P right here. So P, what is P? So if you observe, for the first term, my value is 5. As you can see, if you observe for each consequent term, you see that every time it is increasing by the value of 3. Of 3, right? And of 3. Now, whenever you see that, you have to first write this is pretty easy, right? Because you can just have to add 3 again. So 3, 3, 3, 14, plus 3 again, that will be what? 17. So P has to be 17. This is pretty easy. I guess I will explain the nth term for the value of x. Or we can do it right away. Why not? Let's not waste time. So as you can see, every time it is increasing by 3. So plus 3, plus 3, plus 3. Now, whenever you see that, and whenever you have to find the term, which is n term, you first write down 3n. That's the first step. Now, we know the first term is equal to 5. This is when n is equal to 1. N is the term, so n is the nth term. So 1 will be the first term. So the first term, we know it is the value of 5. Let's say n was equal to 1. So here you will have 3 times 1 is equal to 3. But wait, this is not okay because we are supposed to get 5 for the first term. Now, how do you change 3 to 5? So 3, you have to add 2. So 3 add 2, that will give you 5. So same way, 3n, you have to add 2 to find your n term. So x here will be 3n plus 2. That is the first line for this question. Now let's move on to the second line. Okay. So here we have to find the value of q. Okay, so if you observe, this is what? 2 square, right? 4. 3 square, 4 square, 5 square. This should be 6 square. So 6 times 6 will be 36. Now, how would you find the nth term? Right here. So if you observe, we can do something. Let me rewrite everything down again. So right now we have, so let's say we have the first term, second term, third, fourth, and fifth term. This is 4, this is 9, this is 16, this is 25, and this is 36. This is for this line. Now, if you observe, what is 4? 4 is simply 2 square. 3 square, that will be 4 square, 5 square, and 6 square. So what is happening here? For example, let's say if you want to find the sixth term, what would you do? You would see every time when I have to find the first term, it was 1 plus 1, which is 2 square. 2 plus 1, which is 3 square. 3 plus 1 became 4 square. Same thing to find sixth term, it will be 6 plus 1, which will be 7 square. Now again, if you have to find the nth term, same logic, n plus 1 square. So it will be n plus 1 square. That will be your nth term for this sequence. That will be n plus 1 square. Okay, that will be y, and then what is the third line? This one should be pretty easy if you observe. So we have 1, here we have 8, 27, 64. What is this value? So now if you observe, is that I think at first it will not be very obvious, but I think with practice, if you do many questions, you will see what this term exactly is. It is pretty easy. Let me write this down again. So as you can see, the main idea here is that if this is 1, that will be 1 cube. This is 2 cube. That will be 3 cube, 4 cube. So the value of R will be 5 cube. It will be 125. So this is pretty easy, as you can see. So it was 5 cube. When it was 4, it was 4 cube. So when it was n, it will be n cube. So that's the main idea for this question. Now for the last one, for this one, as you can see, we have 10, 25, 54, 103, ST. So now for those terms, we don't see really anything obvious that stands out, but you realize that it should be also easy because S is only for 1 mog, T is also for 1 mog. So it should not be tough, it should be easy. So I guess by observation again, you will see that. How do you get 10? You get 9 plus 4 plus 1 is 10. 8 plus 9 plus 8 is 25. So 11 plus 16 plus 27 is 54. So basically, the values here, we're just taking the previous values, adding them together to get this one. So this will be 17 plus 36 plus 125. That will be 178. That is your value of S. Now, same logic for value of T. You're just adding everything together. So you have to add X, Y, and Z. So I will leave this part for you guys. What do you say? No? Okay. Okay, let me do this for you as well. So X is what? X is 3n plus 2. Y is n plus 1 square. And Z is n cubed. So we just have to add everything together. Now you can see we have to expand this one. That will be 3n plus 2 plus n squared plus 2n plus 1 and plus n cubed. So simplify 2. That will be n cubed. Here we have plus n squared plus 5n plus 3. So this will be your answer for the value of T for this part B of the question. And that will be question number 2. So I hope that was somewhat helpful, because as you can see, almost all the questions we have to proceed step by step. We have to observe, that's the first step, and then proceed with each step thinking that it must be related to each other, because sometimes questions can be confusing. We just don't know how to do them, but then we realize, you know what, they are all connected with each other, so let me proceed in that way. So that will be something that is good to have in your mind when you find something hard to do, and sometimes it is very obvious in this case. Okay, so now let's move on to question number 3. So here what do we have? In the diagram we have A, B, C, D, and E lie on a circle. So that is very important here. A, B, C, D, and E, they lie on the circle. As you can see, they touches the circle surface. Now, with EB equal to EC. So this is EB and EC. Now, this is the first thing we can derive is what? If you observe triangle EBC will be a isosceles triangle, which means this angle has to be the same as this angle. This is 75. This will also have to be 75. So this will be 55. That's the first thing we can derive from that information. Now next one, the lines ED, AC, and FB are in the same direction. So this line, and this line, they are all in the same direction. Okay. Now of course we have been given these two angles here to help us to find the following answers. Now for part 1, we have to find the angle CED. First thing first, let's find out where is the angle. CED will be this one. So we have to find this angle. Now, what can we use to find this value? As you can see, it's only 1 mark, so it should be pretty easy. So we have to use this information here. So, as you can see, the line AC and ED, they are in the same direction. AC and ED. Now, because they are in the same direction, and also we have a line joining them together, the angle here will have to equal to the angle here. So the interior angles have to be the same. If this is 20, this also will have to be 20. This is called the alternate angles. Alternate angles. So if you have to explain sometimes they ask you why is that the same, you have to explain because we have these two lines, they're in the same direction, they are joined by a straight line. Because of that, the angle on the inside have to be the same. So this is the reason why it is called they are alternate angles. That is for part A. That will be question part A, answer 20. Now for part B, we have to find the angle CDE. Now where's CDE? That will be this one. Okay, so again, we can proceed step by step. Now, as always, you know, the question they ask you is not hard. It is something that they want you to understand what you can use to find this angle. So we have to use the information given to us. So if you think, the first line we read was the points A, B, C, and D, E lie on the circle. So how can we use that? So if you observe, we can take out this shape. E, B, C, D. Let's take out this shape. You have this, C, and D. This is C, D, E, and B. Okay, so this is 75, as you can see here. We're trying to find this angle. Now, as you can see, because these 4 points touches the circle, they lie on the circle, because of that, these two, they have to be supplementary angles, which means their sum, so 75, if you add with D, it has to give you 180. That is a theory you need to know called the supplementary angles, because we have 4 sides of this shape, which is a quad, right? And because also they touches the surface of the circle, because of that 2 reasons, the opposite angle have to add up to 180. So which also mean these two also have to be add up to 180. But right now we are trying to find D only. D will be what? 180 minus 75, that should be 105. So 105 will be your answer for part 2. Now for part C, we have to find ECD. Let's see, where is that? ECD. So we have to find this one. Now this one is pretty simple. As you can see, we have triangle ECD. We know these two angles, we just have to find this one. As you must know by now, the sum of the angles in a triangle is 180. So this will be 180 minus 20 minus 105. That will be 55. So here ECD will be 55 degrees. Of course, you have to write equal, okay? Don't copy that, write equal. And for the part D, we have ACB. Where's ACB? A, C, B. So, as you can see, we have found this already. It was 55. And last one, we have to find the angle ABF. ABF will be this one. So how would you find this angle? So very interesting. So the first thing we can understand is that the angle here will be what? If you observe, B, this point and this will be a triangle, which means this have to be what size? Will be 180 minus 75 minus 55. That will be 50. So we understand that this is 50 degrees. Right, that's the first thing we can find. And then this is 20, which means also we have a theory we have to know. Angle on the same arc are the same. That's something also we have to know for the questions with circle. So what do I mean here is that, as you can see, this angle 20, it lies on what arc? If you observe, it is on the arc AE. So AE will be the arc over this angle 20. Now, if you observe, over the same arc AE, we have the angle right here, angle B. So because of that, these two have to be the same. This is 20, this is also 20. Okay. Now something very interesting here that we can use. Finally, because we know that FB and AC, they are in the same direction according to the question. So AC, FB are same direction, and they are joined by a straight line according to the same theory right here. If this is 50, this also will have to be 50. So which means this is 20, this will have to be 30. So finally, this will be 30 degrees for the angle ABF by using all the information given to you by the question. That is question number 3. Okay, so now let's move on to question number 4. Given that V is equal to U plus Ft over M, express T in terms of F, M, U, and V. So we have to make T become the subject of formula. So let me rewrite this down. So right now we have V is equal to U plus Ft over M. Now, as you can see, we have M as the base here, and here we have integers. So we want to first try to eliminate this M, so we can first multiply by M everywhere. Okay, you will have Vm equal to Um plus Ft. Why? If you think Ft over M times M, what happens? They will cancel out. You will only have this remaining. Now, we send this over here, you will have Vm minus Um equal to Ft. Now, to make T become subject, we have to divide by F. So T will be Vm divided by F. And this is your answer for part A of the questions. Now let's move on to part B of the question. An elastic string hangs from a nail N, as we can see on the diagram. Now, when a mass M is attached to its lower end, the elastic is stretched so that its total length is X centimeters. As you can see, we have a nail here. This is a string. When we attach the mass M, the string is stretched to this height of X. Okay, good. The table shows the results of 2 experiments. So basically, when the mass was 50, the length was 43, and when the mass was 80, the length was 49. These are the 2 experiments that was done on this string for those 2 masses. Now, moving on, it is known that X and M are connected by this equation. So that is a very good thing. They have given you the equation by which the value of X and M are connected. Now, part 1, we have to use this information to write down 2 equations in C and D. So I have to use these 2 information. So this is the first set of information, and this is the other set of information to use to find 2 equations. So for the first one, pretty easy. We know that when the value of X was 43, the value of M was 50. Replace in your equation. Let's see what happened. So that will be 43 equal to C plus 50D. So C has to be 43 minus 50D. That is my equation number 1. Now next one. When the value of X was 49, the value of M was 80. Okay. Now, replace back here, you will have X was 49 equal to C plus 80D. That is my equation number 2. Now, this is part 1 done. Now, we have to use the 2 equations to solve them to find the value of C and D. So as you can see, we have equation number 1, equation number 2, so we have to solve them simultaneously to find the value of C and D. So pretty easy. Replace C on this C. So you have 49 plus C. C is 43. So equal to 43 minus 50D plus 80D. That will be, send this over here, that will be 6 equal to 30D. So D has to be 6 divided by 30. That will be 0.2. Okay, and then finally, for the value of C, replace D back in the main equation. That will be 43 minus 50 times 0.2. That will be 33. Okay, so we have the two answers that we need. So D is 0.2 and C is 33 for part 2 of the question. Now for part 3, we have to find the mass at the end of the string when its length is 40. So basically, find the value of m when x is equal to 40. Right? So pretty easy. Because we know these two values, we can find the main equation that we connect x and m. So basically, now we know x is equal to c, which is 33, plus d, 0.2m. That is my equation to use to find the value of m. Replace this right here. You will have 40 is 33 plus 0.2m. So 0.2m will be what? 7, right? So 40 minus 33 will be 7. So m has to be 7 divided by 0.2. That will be 35. So m will be 35 grams. Because here we have grams, here we have grams for the m unit. Now for part 4, what does the value of C represent? If you observe, we have x equal to 0.2m plus C. Now, if you observe, usually when you have equation of a straight line, you have y equal to mx plus c. So what does a c represent? Usually c will be no y-intercept. That's what we think about. So what does it really mean? It means that this is the value of x when the mass is 0. For example, if you replace here, if the mass is 0, basically there's no weight hanging on the string, the value of x will be 3. Now what is the value of, 33. What is the value of x? X is the string length, right? It is the length of the string. So what is the value of C? C represents what? C represents the length of the string without any mass. Without any mass. That is one way of putting this. Or you can write this is the length of the unloaded string. Up to you to choose. Both is okay. It means the same thing. Okay, that will be so of course I have to write length, right? Obviously. Okay, that will be my question number 4. Okay, let's move on to question number 5. The value of pi will be 3.142, correct to 3 decimal place. So I think we'll be using this as the value for the formulas we have to use in this question. Now for part 1, a water tank shown in diagram 1, this is my water tank right here, is a circular cylinder of radius 24. So the radius R is 24 and the height is 125, as you can see on the diagram. It is open at one end, so this is open, this is closed, this is open on top, and it is full of water. So everything is filled with water. Question number 1, calculate the volume in liters of water in the tank. So pretty easy. To find the volume of water, so let's write down, to find the volume of water, we realize that because the tank is filled with water, the volume of water is equal to volume of tank, if that makes sense. Now, since the tank is a cylinder, it is equal to the volume of cylinder, which is pi r square h for the formula. That will be pi is 3.142, r is 24 square, h is 125. Let's see, what do we have? So that will be 3.142 times 24 square and times 125. That will be 226,224 centimeters cube. Now, of course, you have to find your answer in terms of liters. To convert centimeter cube to liters, we have to divide by 1000. That will be 226 liters. Correct to 3SF. Right? This will be 226 liters, correct to 3SF. Now for part 2, we have to find the total area in square meters of the outside of the tank. So if you observe, how would you find the area of this tank, of the outside of the tank? So simply, area has to be the curved surface area, which is 2 pi r h, and plus the base circle area, which is pi r square. So we don't need to add the top because we know that it is open. If it is open, there's no area on the top, only the curve and the bottom area. Now just replace the values. Let's see what you get. That will be 2 times 3.142 times 24 times 125, and then plus 3.142 times 24 square. So 2 times 3.142 times 24 times 125 plus 3.142 times 24 square. That will be 20661.792. That is centimeters square. Now you have to know, to convert centimeters square to meters square, divide by 10,000. That will be 2. So we have to move 1, 2, 3, 4. 2.07 meters square, correct to 3SF. This is your answer for this one. So other way of doing this is you can first to avoid this step, what can you do is you can first just convert those lengths to meters. So we know this will be 0.24 meters and 1.25 meters. So once you have those values, you can just plug in those values in here, and you don't have to convert at the end. You will have the same answer in terms of meters squared directly. But if you follow this step, you have to eventually convert by dividing by 10,000 to obtain this. Now you may ask, how do I know to divide by 10,000? So let's go back to the principles that we know how to find this. So basically we know that 1 meter has to be 100 centimeters. That's the first thing we know, right? Does that make sense? Right. Now to find 1 meter square, that has to be, because we have squared this value right here, so we have squared, let's say we have squared this side, we have to also square this side. So you will have 1 square is 1, m square is meter square, is equal to 100 square centimeter square. So basically 1 meter square is equal to 10,000 centimeters square. So that's how we derive this ratio. So from this, we realize that to change centimeter square to meter square, divide by 10,000. And to change centimeters cube to liters, divide by 1,000. So these are the two main things we have to know in these questions to find the right answer. Now let's move on to part B of the question. The diagram shows a rectangular trout of length 150 and 20. As you can see here, the length is 150 and width of 20. Now the trout was completely filled with 48,000 centimeter cubes of water from the tank. Okay, so basically we use this much water to fill up the tank completely. So completely is the keyword that we have to understand. Now for part B, the question, calculate the depth of the trout. So we have to find this value right here. Now, because it was filled completely by volume of 48,000 centimeter cubes of water, so we understand that it is also the volume of the trout, because it was filled completely by this much. It means that it fits exactly inside, so that volume is the same as the volume of the trout. So how do you find volume of this shape? It will be the length times width times height, right? So 48,000 is equal to length, which is 150, times 20, and times depth. So depth will be 48,000 divided by 150 times 20. That will be 16 centimeters as your answer. That is your answer for part B. 16 centimeters for the value of depth of that tank, of the trout. Now for part C, after the trout has been filled, the water starts leaking from the tank. Now, tank, you have to know, tank is actually this one. So water starts leaking from the cylinder. In 2 hours 30 minutes, in other words, in 2.5 hours. I hope that makes sense, because 30 minutes is half an hour. So that will be in 2.5 hours. It was found that we are losing 20,000 centimeter cubes from that cylinder tank. Now, we can do one thing first, is if in 2.5 hours we are losing 20,000, what about 1 hour? We will be losing, divide by 2.5, so you'll be using 8,000 centimeter cubes in 1 hour. Okay, that's the first step. So first step we derive, so in 1 hour we derive that we're losing 8,000 centimeters cube of water from the tank. Now question, calculate the rate at which the level of the water in the tank was falling. Express your answer in centimeters per hour, so centimeters per hour. So by how much is the level or the height falling in 1 hour? Very easy. Because of that 1 hour, we know that in 1 hour we are losing 8,000 centimeters cube. So what is the length or the height for that volume? Now, of course, you're losing this from this shape, from a cylinder. Now, what is the volume of a cylinder? It is pi r square h. So in 1 hour, you're losing that much volume, which is 8,000. So h, which is the height we're actually trying to find, or the level in 1 hour that we are losing, will be 8,000 divided by pi, which is 3.142, multiplied by the value of r square. That will be what? Divide by 3.142 times 24 square. That will be 4.42 centimeters. From this you realize in 1 hour the height or the depth or the level is changing by 4.42 centimeters. So in short, we were able to derive the rate in this unit, which is 4.42 centimeters per hour. So per 1 hour we are losing this level. So this is your answer as required. Okay, that will be your question number 5. Let's move on to question number 6. So here we have to answer the whole of this question on a sheet of graph paper. So obviously you will have to use a graph paper for your marks, for full marks in this question. However, I will not be able to because I don't have graph paper. So I hope you guys can follow the steps and try to find the points with matrix, just like I will be doing these questions, to show you another way of doing that without using the graph. Anyway, so let's move on to question number A. So first thing first, we have a triangle A. They have the points 6 minus 2, 8 minus 2, 6 minus 5. Okay, using a scale of 1 to 1, and we have to first draw this x-axis and the y-axis. So I'm sure this is pretty simple for you, right? It will have to be a vertical line for your y-axis from the value of minus 6 until the value of 6. And for the x-axis has to be the value of minus 6 until the value of 12. So 12 and minus 6. That is my x-axis. So basically this is how you will be drawing your first part of your graph. Okay, so now draw and label part A. I'm sure you guys can do this pretty easily. You have all the points already. Just point them and join them by straight line to form this triangle A. Now for part B, we have a translation T is represented by a column vector. Okay, now the translation T maps triangle A onto triangle B. So basically A, we apply transformation T, we get B. We have to draw and label B. So to draw B, we have to first find the points of B. So pretty easy. We just have to, for translation, this is pretty straightforward. We just have to take the points of A, which is 6 minus 2, 8 minus 2, 6 minus 5, and then apply the translation of T, which is 4, 3. That will give you the points of 6 plus 4 is 10, 8 plus 4 is 12, 6 plus 4 is 10. Minus 2 plus 3 is 1, minus 2 plus 3 is 1. This will be, of course, minus 2. So basically these are the points of triangle B. So B will be, the points is 10, 1, 12, 1, and 10 minus 2. As you can see, I have done this by using matrix, and you can do the same as well to find the points and then draw. Don't forget to draw this for your full marks. Now for part C, the transformation R is a rotation through 90 degrees clockwise, which is in this direction, about the center 3, 4. Okay, so here the center is not the origin. That is something important. Okay, now the transformation R maps A onto triangle C. So you can see we have A, we apply the transformation R onto A to get C. Now we have to find and draw the triangle C. So again, I will not be using graph because I don't have graph. I'll be using matrices to show this is how this is done. So first thing first, we have to understand that when you take matrix transformation, you apply it to an object that will give you the image, which is the same thing as here. This is my rotation, object is the triangle A, and then you will obtain C as your triangle. Now, we have to first derive what is the matrix M, or matrix of rotation clockwise direction. So let's do that. So we have to derive this. So I don't like to memorize these things. So this is how I derive the matrix for transformation R. So that will be my y-axis. This is my x-axis. I'll always begin with this value. This is my first value of 1. So this is my point 1, 0. And my second point that I look at will be this point, which is 0, 1. And then I have this point, which is 0, minus 1. And then lastly, we have this point will be minus 1, 0. As you can see, I begin with 4 points, but we only look at this point first and then this point. So now, we can see that transformation R is a rotation through 90 degrees clockwise. Okay, so what do I mean? I have to first take this point, 1, 0, and try to rotate 90 degrees clockwise. Let's see what happens. If you perform that on here, you will have clockwise 90 degrees. The point 10 will become this point, 90. Rotation clockwise, you will have 10 becomes the point 0 minus 1. Then the next point I look at will be this one. Same thing. This is 90. Rotation 90. So this will give you this point. So this will become 10. So this represents my transformation of R, which is the rotation 90 degrees about the point O. Now, as you can see, the center here is not O, so we have to do something. So what can we do is, we know that A, for the points of A, has been given to us. A was given to you by 6 minus 2, 8 minus 2, 6 minus 5, that's the points of A. So now, because the center is not O, what I can do is, I can minus the center, which is 3, 4, for this transformation. That's the first thing I can do. So that I will have the new points, which is going to be reflection on that center O. Rotation, not reflection. So let's do that first. So minus the center, which is not O. That will be 6 minus 3 will be 3. That will be 5 and 3. Minus 6, that will be minus 6 and minus 9. Okay, so that will be my new points of A minus my center. Now, we have to apply this thing, which is rotation R, which is this one. Apply to the new points of A, which is neglecting the center 3, 4, the new points. Let's see what do you get. Okay, so as you know, matrix is multiplied by rows by column. So 0 times this plus this, that will be minus 6, and minus 9. This will be rows by column. That should be minus 3, minus 5, and minus 3. Okay, so now we have this. These are the points resulting from that matrix multiplication. So now, of course, this is rotation about the point O. But in reality, so basically you have to understand, when you minus the center 3, 4, you're basically doing now is, you're basically rotating about your origin, right? So you apply the formula we have for the rotation about O on the new points, you get the resulting points. And then for your final answer, we have to add back our center of rotation, that was 3, 4. So plus 3, 4 for everything. Let's see what do we get. You will have minus 6 plus 3, minus 3, that will be minus 3, minus 6, minus 3 plus 4, that will be 1, minus 1, 1. So basically the points for your resulting triangle C will be this one. As you can see, this was done step by step. The first step you derive is the matrix of rotation about center O. Once you find that, you find the points that you will be using for rotation. Now, the reason why I do this is because we know that the center of rotation is not O, it is 3, 4. So we first take the triangle A, we minus the center that we have here to obtain the new points. For these new points, I can apply this matrix because it is the rotation about the center O, and since we have minus the center already, this will be the points we use for that. So now going here, matrix times object give you image. This was a center about, this was a rotation about center O. This give you these points. Now obviously, as we can see that we have a center of 3, 4. We have to add this back because we have minuses here. We have to add this back to obtain this answer. So your triangle C, we have the points minus 3, 1, minus 3, minus 1, and minus 6, 1 for your answer. This will be your answer for part C of this question. This is kind of hard to understand right away. You have to try this question, do this at least 3 times by yourself, and if you get the same answer, it means you understood. So always try again. First time try, write down the same answer as I did, and then after you obtain the answer, try one more time and try one more time to see if you understand that clearly or not. That will be the step I will advise to follow for this one if you don't understand at first. Now for part D, so this is minus 3, 1, minus 3, minus 1, minus 6, 1. Okay, so now moving on to part D of the question. So we have to find, given that T, it is the translation T, R is the rotation from part C, applied to the triangle A give you D. So you have to find the points D and then draw the D on your graph. Now, how would you find that? Pretty easy. If you observe here, we have R applied to A and then apply to T. So this we know already because we have found this from part C. That will be translation. So basically this, when you apply the transformation R on the triangle A, you get triangle C, as you can see here. So finally, we apply transformation on triangle C. So transformation is just a vector of 4, 3. So we just have to add this point by this to find your answer. So that will give you, so minus 3 plus 4 should be, that will be 1, and then that should be 1 plus 3 should be 4. Okay, that's the first point. And then we have minus 3 plus 4, that should be 1 again, and minus 1 plus 3, that should be 2, and finally minus 6 plus 4, that should be minus 2, and then 1 plus 3, that should be 4. Okay, so that will be the points for the triangle D. Now when it comes down to triangle E, we don't need to find this one anymore because it will be dealing with shear or stretch, but because this has been removed from your syllabus already, so you guys don't have to learn about these two, so this you can just skip part E for your question. Now how would you know if it is a shear or stretch? So once you draw this triangle E on your graph, you will see the graph will be kind of deformed. It will be stretched to one side, upside or downwards, so it will not be, it will look different. That's the main point. So because of that, you will know it will be a shear or stretch, and this will not be included in your syllabus for your exam. So you can skip question E, and that will be your question number 6. Okay, so let's move on to question number 7. Express as a single fraction in its simplest form. So pretty easy. As you can see here, we have 2 fractions and the base are different. So the first thing we have to do is to make the base become the same. Now, you guys should know by now, what do? We just have to multiply them by each other. So multiply the base by each other. That will be x times x plus 4. Then we have to cross multiply. You will have 200 x plus 800, then minus 200x. Then simplify, this will cancel out, so you will have 800 over x times x plus 4. Okay, here you go. That will be part A of your answer, which is as a single fraction in its simplest form. Obviously you can always expand that, but there's no need to do that. Now for part B, let's see what do we have. When driven in town, a car runs x km on each liter of petrol. So it means that on 1 liter of petrol, the car will go x km. So which means on 1 km, so basically 1 km is equal to 1 over x liters, right? So we can derive that from this given information. I hope that makes sense. You just divide by x on both sides. X divided by x will be 1. 1 divided by x will be 1 over x. So 1 km is 1 over x L. That's something we can derive. Okay, now next one. Here we have to find in terms of x the number of liters of petrol used when the car is driven 200k in town. So pretty easy, because we know that 1 km is 1 over x, so 200 km will be times 200, that will be 200 over x liters used. That will be part 1 of the answer. Now for part 2, when driven out of town, the car runs x plus 4 km, okay, on each liters of petrol. So same step as this one. So 1 liter is equal to x plus 4 km, which means on 1 km it will be 1 over x plus 4 liters. Okay, so that's the first thing we derive from that. Now, it uses 5 liters less petrol to go 200k out of town than to go 200k in town. So basically, when it goes in town, it uses more petrol than it goes outside town. So we can form an equation right here. If you observe, so if you take the petrol in town minus petrol out town, has to be 5. That's what it means by this line. So let's replace those values. So petrol in town for 200k is given by this one. So in town will be this one, 200k, 200 over x, minus out of town will be this one, that will be, sorry, this one, so we have to multiply by 200, right? So 200, that will be 200 over x plus 4 is equal to 5. Okay, so we have to simplify this. So again, you say, using this information, write down an equation involving x and show it simplifies to this. We have to show this. Now, observe, well, where do we see this? This is seen from part A, right? This became this. So we know that this is same as 800 over x plus 4 has to be 5 over 1. Cross multiply, you will have 800 is 5x squared plus 20x. Divide by 5, you will have what? 160 is x squared plus 4x. Now send everything to one side, you will have x squared plus 4x minus 160 is 0. And this is shown as required, same as this. Now for part C, we have to solve the equation giving both answers correct to 2 decimal places. So whenever you see this, it means the answers are not exact, so you have to use your formula to solve this equation. So A will be 1, B will be 4, and C will be minus 160. So let's solve. X will be minus B plus minus B squared minus 4 times A times C. Now everything divided by 2A will be 2. Simplify. 16 minus 4 times 1 times minus 160. That will be this value. So X will be minus 4 plus minus root of 656 over 2. So simplify. Minus 4 plus root 656 divided by 2. That will be 10.8, or minus 4 minus root of 656 divided by 2 minus 14.8. Those are your two answers. X can be this, or X can be this. Correct to 2 decimal. So we have 2 decimal place. So sorry, we have to rewrite this correct to 2 decimal place. This will be 8.1, and this one will be what? Minus 4 plus 656 divided by 2, 8.1 as well. So that should be the answer. First one and the second one. Okay. Now for part D, we have to find the total volume of petrol used when the car is driven 40 km in town and then 120 km out of town. So pretty easy, one by one. So which value of x will you be using? Now what is x? X is kilometers. It cannot be negative, so you will use x as 10.81, obviously. That is distance. So now we have to find the volume used when the car is driven 40 km in town. So in town we have to use this part here, which is this one, this information. So in town will be 1 km is 1 over x liters. So if you want to drive 40 km in town, that will be 40 over x liters. That will be in town. Now next part, this is in town, right? Now for out of town, we are driving 120. So out of town 120, we have to use this part, right? Out of town, we know that 1 km has to be 1 over x plus 4 liters. So 120 km has to be 120 over x plus 4 liters. So let's replace and add together. So find this and add this together to find your answer. So take the value of x as 10.81, and this will be 120 divided by 14.81, right? Because 10 plus 4 is 14. So first this one, 40 divided by 10.81 plus 120 divided by 14.81. That will be 11.8 as your answer for the total volume of petrol used, which is liters. Okay, that will be your answer for question part D of 7. Let's move on to question number 8. So here we have to answer the whole of this question on a sheet of graph paper. Okay, so I don't have graph paper, so let's see what can we do. Okay, the length of time taken by 80 drivers to complete the journey is shown in the table below. So basically, number of drivers, if you add everything together, you're supposed to get 80 drivers, because that is the number of drivers we have tested or measured. Now, part 1, using a scale of 2 centimeters to represent 10 minutes, we have to draw a horizontal axis for the times between 60 and 130. 60 and 130, pretty easy. So we have to draw a histogram. Now you have to understand, when drawing a histogram, you have to find the frequency density, which is equal to the frequency divided by class width. Okay, so one by one, let's find the class width first. The class width of each group is what? Is this value minus this. 80 minus 60, that will be 20. This will be 90 minus 80, that will be 10. This will be 5, this will be 5, this will be 10, and this will be 20. So first, find the class width of each class. Now, this is number of drivers. They are called the frequency. Number of drivers is frequency. Now, to draw a histogram, we need to find the frequency density. So frequency density is defined by frequency divided by class width. Frequency is 4 divided by class width 20, that will be 0.2. Next one, 10 divided by 10, that should be 1. 14 divided by 5, that should be 2.8. 20 divided by 5, that should be 4. This will be 2.4. And finally, 8 divided by 20, that will be 0.4. So basically, for each of those class, you will have these values. Now, I can try to sketch one for you guys if you want to, for the histogram, to find the shape of how it is supposed to look like. So let's do that. So basically, you will have a vertical axis. This will be called the frequency density, or you can call it FD if you want to. And this is, of course, the histogram. Okay, and then you will have a horizontal axis, And as you can see, this will be minutes, right? Using a scale of 2 centimeters for 10 minutes. So we are representing minutes. So that will be minutes. Now, it begins from 60 to 130. So we can directly begin from 60. So begin from 60. Then let's see, what do we have? So let's try. So 60, that will be 70, 80, 90, 100, 110. That will be 120, and 130 will stop right here. This is a sketch. It is not exact. So when you draw, this has to be exact. Okay, good. And now for the frequency density, as you can see, the value ranges from 0.2 to 4. So let's do that. It will be from, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 is maximum. Right. Okay, so let's see for the first value. So for the first class, we have 60 to 80. FD is 0.2. So 60 to 80, this is 80. FD is 0.2, should be somewhere over here. Okay, should be a straight line, should be a rectangle like this. Now 80 to 90, that should be 1. So 80 to 90, that should be 1, should be like this. So obviously you'll be using a ruler to draw the straight line. Well, because I don't have one, that's why I am using my just a freehand to draw these shapes. Okay, so let's move on. So 90 to 95 will be 5. Sorry, this is the class width, this is the FD 2.8. So 95 will be right in the middle. 2.8, what is 2.8? This is 2. 2.8 will be somewhere over here. Okay, and then we have 95 to 100, that should be 4. So that is 95 to 100 here. 4 will be this one, right? Something like this. And then what else do we have? We have 100 to 110 should be 2.4. So 100 to 110, 2.4 should be somewhere over here. So of course, when you use a graph paper, your values will be more exact. You will know exactly where you will be drawing that value. And finally, from 110 to 130, the FD will be 0.4. So 0.4 will be, let's say, somewhere over here. Okay, so this is how your histogram will at least look like. And of course, you'll be joining them by straight lines. Unlike me, it's kind of curvy, but that's okay. But you get the idea. This is how you should draw your histogram. That is for part A of the question. Now for part B, in which interval does the median lie? So to find the median, we understand this one is the middle value. So how do you find that? We take the total number of drivers, which is 80. So 80 plus 1 divided by 2. What you will have? So 80 plus 1 divided by 2. That's how you find median. For histogram and for list of numbers, you will be the 40th.5th value. Now, of course, it is not possible. You cannot find a 40.5th driver. You cannot take half a driver, obviously. What it means is it will be the average before that is 40. After that, we have 41. So basically, it will be lying between the 40 and the 41st driver. So let's check where does those two drivers lie. So for this class, we have 4. For this class, we have the 14th people, right? If you count, so 4 plus 10 is 14th. So what does it mean is that, so the first 4 people will be in this class. Then afterwards, the next 10 people will be in this class. So basically the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 will be in this one. So from 5 to 14, they will be in this group. That's what we need to understand. 10 people. Now the rest one, so this is 14 plus this, that will be 28, plus 20, that will be 48. So as you can see, we just need the values of people, 40 and 41st people. So they are clearly in this class, because here we stop at 28. The next class have from 28 to 48. So as you can see, 40 and 41 is in between those class. It will be 95 to 100. This is where your median would lie. Okay, so that will be part B of the question. Now for part C, we have to calculate the median time taken to complete the journey. So this one is calculate and estimate for the mean time taken for the journey. So mean is equal to what? Sum of f of x divided by the number of drivers. Now we have to find something. So whenever you have to find mean with the group of the class given to you, you have to find the midpoint to find the mean. The midpoint of this will be 70. We call it x. The midpoint of this will be 85. So how do you find the midpoint? Pretty easy. Take the first value, 60 plus 80, divide by 2, 70. So this one, same thing, 80 plus 90 divided by 2, that will be 85. So same thing, 92.5, 97.5, and 105, and 120. That will be x. Now frequency is here. Let me write this down here as well. F will be 4, 10, 14, 20, 24, and 8. This is the value of f. Now you have to find the sum of f of x. So we have to first find f of x. F of x will be what? Fx will be, multiply those two together. So 4 times 70, that will be 280. That will be 850. 14 times 9, 2.5, that will be 1295. And 20 times 9, 7.5, that will be 1950. 24 times 105, that will be 2520. 8 times 120, that will be 960. So this is the fx, so we have to find the sum of fx, so have to add everything together. That will be 180 plus 850 plus 1295 plus 1950 plus 2520 plus 960. That will be 7755. Now replace back in your main equation or your main formula here. The top will be 7755 divided by 80. That will be 9693SF, or correct value will be 9615 over 16 for the mean value. So I'm coming back to this question here. For part B, for part C actually, I made a mistake in my calculator. So this is supposed to be 8, so 7855. And if you do the calculation, you should get a different answer. That will be 7855 divided by 80. That should be 98.2 as your answer and not 96.9. So this will be your answer, correct to 3SF, or it will be 98 and then 3 over 16. Okay, so that will be the mistake I made here on my calculator. So just be careful whenever you have to do this kind of operations, and always double check your answer. It should be 98.2, or you can write as in terms of fraction 98 3 over 16 for part C of the question. That will be your question, part C. Now let's move on to part D of the question. So one driver is chosen at random. Okay, expressing your answer as a fraction in its lowest term, calculate the chance that she took 90 minutes or less. So 90 minutes or less. So pretty easy. Let's go find out what is those values. Going back to your table, this is 90 minutes or less will be all of this, right? Basically, that will be 10 plus 4. That will be 14. So 14 over 80 people. That will be what? 14 over 80, that should be 7 over 40 as your answer. Okay, now for part E, now we have chosen two drivers. Okay, expressing each answer as a fraction in its lowest term, calculate the chance that both took more than 110. So pretty easy. More than 110 will be what? This is less than 110. More will be right here, will be 8. So for the first one to take more than 110 will be 8 over 80. Then for the next one to take more than 110, that will be 7 over 79. Times 7 over 79, that should give you 7 over 790. Now for part 2, one took 80 or less and the other took more than 110. Now 80 or less as well. 80 or less will be this part. That will be 4. Okay, that will be 4 over 80 people. The next one will be 110 or more, should be 8 over 79. But of course you have to multiply by 2. Whenever you see one and the other, this is one way to remember, multiply by 2 to find the answer. So the reason why is because we'll look at them as separate people. So basically what do we mean is that the same person could be also, it could be reverse the value. So for example, we could have this times 8 over 79, but also, it could be same thing again, which could be 8 over 80 times 4 over 79. So that's the reason why we times 2. If that makes sense, right? So 4 over 80 times 8 over 79 times 2. That should be 4 over 395 as your answer. Again, whenever you see one or the other, don't forget to multiply by 2 for your final answer. This will be your question number 8. Let's move on to question number 9. So answer the whole of this question on a sheet of graph paper. Okay. The table gives the values of x for the and the corresponding values of y, correct to one decimal place where y is equal to this equation. So part 1, we have to find the value of p. Value of p is what? Is y when the value of x is 1. So just replace the value of x in the equation. That will be 4 times 1 plus 25 over 1. That will be 29.0. That will be the value of p. That is the first one done. The next one here we have to draw the graph. So I was able to find a graph paper. So I did these axes already from 0 to 4 and 0 to 30. So this will be my graph for now. And I just have to join all the points so I can have my curve for the given points. So pretty easy. So let me try to connect that with a smooth curve. So let's try. So I don't think it's going to be great. As you can see, it's not very smooth, my graph. So always use a pencil, obviously, to draw your graph, not pen. Okay, somewhere like this. And finally, will be these 2 points remaining. And we'll have my answer. Okay, so that will be my graph of y. Of course, label the graph all the time. So that'll be y equal to, that will be 4x plus 25 over x squared. Okay, that will be my question for part B. So plot the points and join them with a smooth curve. Done. Now for part C, we have to use the graph to find this solution. Now, how would you find this? If you observe, basically, this is what? This is my curve equal to 20. Now the curve is equal to what? So 4x plus 25 over x squared is what? It is y. So basically, I have to draw the graph of y equal to 20 and see where they meet. So y equal to 20 is a horizontal line. So let's try to draw that. So again, I don't have a ruler, so good luck. let me just try to kind of draw this in this way. So this is my line at the value of 20. Okay, that will be, so you have to continue this line all the way and label this as y equal to 20. And the corresponding value should be what? Let's see. So according to my graph, so when I'm doing graph questions, the most important thing right now is for you to understand how to find the answers. Because as you can see, my graph may not be perfect. I'm drawing with a pen, which is not good in the first place. So it can always lead to mistakes. So the point here is to understand how to actually find the answers. Okay. So here I have, this is my point. I need to find this value of x. That will be, this is 1 here, 2 here, so that will be 1. So I know this is 1.25. So 1 square is what? So 0.25 is this distance. This is 5 squares. So 1 square will be this. So plus 1.25, that will be 1.3. So my point of intersection is 1.30 according to my graph. So my answer here. So what I did was very simple. I realized that, hey, this is what? This is my equation of the curve. And the curve is defined by y. I replace this by y. You will have this line. So you have to draw this line on your graph to see where it cuts your curve. And according to my graph, it cuts my curve at this point, at 1.30 for my answer. That will be x, 1.30. And that is, of course, for one of the points. Now, if your graph were to continue, you will have other values as well. But just because that your graph will stop right here, between the values of 4 and 0, we cannot continue the graph. So if you are allowed to continue, obviously you will have another value for your answer. But for now, it's only one answer. Now for part 2, we have to find the least value of this. So least value of your curve. So if you observe on your graph, what is the least value of y? So it will be at the minimum point. It will be somewhere about this, right? So you just have to, again, use a ruler, draw a line which connects with your y-axis. So yeah, this is not great, but hey, it is what it is. So here you go. That will be my value. So for me, it shows to be about 12 point what? Let's see. So that will be 13.5. That'll be 13.75 according to my my value. So my least value will be 13.75. So 3SF, that will be 13.8 according to my graph. So the point is that you have to look at your graph and find the minimum value and then draw a line to find the value. So that's the way you do it. Okay. Let's move on to part D of the question. By drawing a tangent, so tangent, find the gradient of the curve at the point this. So first, let's go find the point. Point is x equal to 1.5. That will be 1 is here, 1.5 will be right here. So the point is this one. Now we have to draw a tangent at this point, so it means that we have to draw a line which passes at this point, or which touches the curve at this point only. So you have to draw a line which just touches this point. That's the main idea here. As you can see, that will be my line. So this is the tangent that I've drawn. Now I have to find the gradient. So to find the gradient, we have to find 2 points on the line. So let me choose easy points. So I will choose easy points. This is 2, right? I'll choose 2, and then this here, that will be 2 and 12.5. That's my first point. And then I will choose this one, which is kind of easy as well. That will be my point 0, and then that will be what? 20.5, 21, 21.5, and let's say this is 22, for example. Okay, so I have 2 points to use. So once I get my 2 points, I can find my gradient of the graph at that point. So I have 0, 22, and I have 2, 12.5. So to find the gradient, you have to use your formula, which is y2 minus y1, so 22 minus 12.5 over x2 minus x1. So 22 minus 12.5 divided by 0 minus 2, that will be minus 4.75, correct to 3SF. Now again, my value may not be correct because my graph may not be the best graph ever, but the idea is you have to understand how to find the answer. So by drawing a tangent, you will draw a straight line passing at that point of x equal to 1.5. After you draw the line, you have to find 2 points on the line that will help you to find the gradient. As you can see here, I found 2 points. I use those 2 points to find this value for my gradient. Now for part E, on the axis used in part B, okay, which is on the same graph, right? We have to draw the graph of a straight line, y equal to 25 minus 3x. So let's try that. So how do you draw a straight line? So pretty easy. So you have to first find 2 passing points if you want to draw a graph. Now, we have from x from 0 to 4. Let's try. When x equal to 0, what is the value of y? Y will be 25 minus 0, that will be 25. The first passing point is 25, so 0, 25. Now x equal to 4, y will be, so let me not choose 0 because here I think I skipped the point 0. Let me not choose 0, let me choose 1 because it will be tough for me to, okay, I made a mistake here as you can see because I began my graph at 1. That is my mistake. It should be 0, right? But the reason why I began at 1 is because my x-axis was not big enough to write all the numbers. So again, if this is 1, my point here have to change. That will be 122. And going back to here, that has to be 122. And my answer here will change. So let me see what happens. So we have 22 minus 12.5 divided by 1 minus 2. That will be minus 9.5 according to my points that I have for my graph. Again, it's just the idea of understanding how to find is more important here, not the actual answer for this one. Now again, to draw the graph, you have to find 2 passing points. So when x equal to 4, that will be 25 minus 12, that will be 13. So the passing point will be 4, 13. So let's change this one because we don't have 0 on the graph. I apologize. Let's choose another point. Let's choose x equal to 1. Y will be 25 minus 3, and that will be 22. So that will be 1, 22. So now we have 2 passing points that we can use to draw that line. So 122, that will be right here. And then we have 413, that will be where? So 4 is here. 13 will be, so 4 is here. 12.5 is here, so 13 will be right here. Okay, so now we have 2 points. We can join them by a straight line. So again, you have to use a ruler for this. Don't try this at home because I'm using my freehand to draw this, which is not good. Okay, so it will be a straight line, which will look somewhat like this. Not perfect. As you can see, this will be the line you have to draw to connect those 2 points to show your line. So you have to start the line right here because we don't need to go past 4, but always label the line after you draw it. That will be y equal to 25 minus 3x. Okay, that will be my answer for part E. Now moving on, we have to write down the x values of the point at which the 2 graphs intersect. So pretty easy, just observe the graph. Where does my line cut the graph? You can see we have 1 point here and we have another point here. So we can just find the corresponding values of x. So first one, and of course you have to use a ruler. Don't copy me. This is a bad thing I'm doing right now, but I have no choice. That should be 3.25. And this one will be what? Here, that shows to be the value of 1.25. So according to my graph, my two values of x will be x equal to 1.25 and x equal to 3.25. Okay, as long as you must show your work. If you want to get marks, you have to show exactly how you find the answers. So let's say my answer here is not correct. It is even okay, because I'll get part mark to show how I obtain my answer, if that makes sense. They always are looking for the graph, because you have to use that to show how you found the answer. Now let's move on to part 2 of the question. So here we have to find what? We have to find the equation in the form of this, which is satisfied by the values of x found in part f1. Now, we have to understand something here. How did you find the answer from f1? So you draw a line, which is y equal to 25 minus 3x. Now, the points where the two graphs intersect means we have solved the two equations simultaneously. So the two lines cut each other, not line, the line and the curve, they cut each other. So whenever you see intersect, cuts or meets, we have to solve simultaneously. So here we have intersect, so we have to think about solving simultaneously. Now the curve has been given to you by this equation, 4x plus 25 over x squared. That is my first equation. Now the line is equal to y 25 minus 3x. That is my second equation. So when you have two equations, you can solve simultaneously. So let's replace y in here. You will have 25 minus 3x equal to 4x plus 25 over x squared. Let's send this everything to one side. Let's see what do we get. You will get, so 4x plus this, that will be 7x plus 25 over x squared minus 25 has to be 0. Now you want to eliminate this value on the bottom. You have to multiply by that value to eliminate the value. So you will have 7x times this will be 7x cubed. This over this times this will be 25. And finally, what else do we have? This will be 25 as well. Minus 25 x squared is 0. Okay, as you can see, you have shown this equation in this form where we have ax cubed. So let me write this down again, because we have something missing here, which is 7x cubed minus 25 x squared plus 0x and plus 25 have to be 0. Okay, so that is the equation that we have to show in this form for your answer, and that will be your answer, part F2 for your question number 9. So after verifying the marking schemes, I realized that all my answers were okay. So every one of the answers were within the range accepted by the marking scheme. So as you can see, even with my bad graph, I was able to find the right answers. And I hope you guys can also do well on a graph question. So anyways, proceed to question number 10. Let's move on to question number 10. So here the value of pi is 3.142, correct to 3 decimal place. Okay, now let's move on to the questions. Diagram 1 shows a regular pentagon. So now what does it mean to be a regular pentagon? It means that all the 5 sides of the pentagon are the same. So basically, if you observe on this diagram, AB have to be the same as BC, DC, ED, and EA. That's what it means to be a regular pentagon. Now, inscribed in a circle of radius 1.5, okay, so this is radius 1.5 right here, and center O is right here. Now, part 1, we have to explain why the angle AOB is 72 degrees. So this angle, why is it 72? Now, if you observe, if you were to connect all the dots, this O to C, you will have 5 equal parts. So the reason why is because AOC is 1/5, of the angle at O. Well, you can see it is 1/5 of 360 degrees, if that makes sense. Because if you look here, this will be 360. Since we have 5 equal shares, you have to divide by 5 to get this, right? So 360 divided by 5, that will be 72. So it means this is 72. That's the first step. Now, if you don't want to write this, no worries. You can just show directly how do you find this. By calculation, you can explain because the angle at center is, so the angle O is 360, everything together, and we have 5 equal triangles at O. From that, we conclude that the angle have to be the same as well. That will be 72. So basically, you can also explain step by step how do you find the answer. Now for part B, we have to find the area of the pentagon ABCD. Now, how would you find this area? So pretty easy. We know that this pentagon is made up of 5 exact triangles of this size. We know this is 1.5 and 1.5. Now, how would you find the area of a triangle? Pretty easy. It will be half times sine of the angle on the inside, on the in between, and times the two sides, which is 1.5 times 1.5. That is area of one triangle. Then you have to multiply by 5 because you have 5 equal triangles. So here you have to use degrees. Half sine of 72 times 1.5 square times 5. That will be 5.35 as your area, and that will be in centimeters. Here, centimeters, that will be centimeters square. Okay, that will be for part B. Now it's always best to double check your answer. Sometimes you can make silly mistakes. So half times 1.5 square times 5 times sine of 72. Yep, this seems to be okay. So 5.35. Now for part C, diagram 2 shows a design for a new coin. Okay, the vertices of the regular pentagon ABCD are joined by a circular arcs whose centers are the opposite of the vertices. As you can see here, this is a new design for a coin, and the vertices of the pentagon, which is these vertices, the points, right, they are joined by circular arcs. As you can see, they are joined by arcs, 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 and arcs. That's what's given to you. Now, for example, arc AB has center D and radius dA. So, example, arc AB has center D and radius dA. So here radius center D, dA, dA, radius dB as well, if that makes sense. Now for part 1, we have to explain why the angle ADB is 36. So where's ADB? ADB, so why is this angle here? 36. So let's see how can you find this angle. Now first thing first we can do is we can actually find this step by step if you want to. It is not hard. Let's see how can we do that. It is only 1 mark, as you can see. I don't think there must be much work. Let me see how can we proceed for this value. So let's try to connect if you want to see if you can help us or not. Connect these two, what happens? So this is AOB. We know this is 72, right? Here, 7272. So if this is 72, these two have to be the same. What are these two? That will be 360 minus 72 divided by 2. That will be 144. 144 and 144. And now we know this is radius, radius, and radius. So this is what? This will be 180 minus 144. That will be 36. Divided by 2, that will be 18. So the one side is 18 and this side is also 18. So together, as you can see, it is 36. So The explanation will be basically on the graph itself, as you can see, as shown in diagram. We were able to find the angle, which is 36. That is one way of showing that, just by showing how did you find the angle. Now for part 2, show that the length DA is approximately 2.85. Now where's DA? DA is this one. We're trying to find this length. Okay, so we know this is 1.5 given from part 1. So this also has to be 1.5. So if you observe, we have DA, here we have this, and here we have this. This is 1.5, this is 1.5, and this is 144 degrees, right? So we have to find this one. Again, from the first question number 1, when you have the two sides and you have the angle in between, you can find this by using the cosine rule. Okay, that's how we can find this. So cosine of the angle 144 is equal to 1.5 square plus 1.5 square, and then minus this side, let's call this x, minus x square, over 2 times 1.5 times 1.5. That is your cosine formula to use, cosine rule formula. Now we can first cross multiply to see what happens. You have cos of 144 times 2 times 1.5 times 1.5. That will be minus 3.64058 is equal to 1.5 square plus 1.5 square. That will be 4.5 minus x square. So now we have to make x square become the subject, so x square will be 4.5 plus this value 58, that will be 8.14058. So finally, continue here, x has to be square root of that. That will be 2.85, correct to 3SF. Now x is actually the length of AD, so we have shown that AD is 2.85, that will be centimeters, correct to 3SF. Now for part 3, calculate the area of the triangle DAB. Okay, so DAB, where's DAB? DAB. So find this area of the triangle. So again, pretty easy. What can we do is we can take the triangle out. That's the first thing. So you have this, this, and this. So you know this is 36. This is the same as this because these are the radius of the arc AB, right? So these are the same. If AD is 2.85, this will also be 2.85. Now to find the area, now we can just use the formula. Pretty simple. That will be half times the two sides. 2.85 times 2.85 will be square, and then sine of the angle in between. So half times 2.85 square times 36, sine 36. That will be 2.39. So the area of triangle will be 2.39, and that will be centimeters square. So let's try again. Sometimes we tend to make silly mistakes. So half times 2.85 square times sine of 36. Yep, same value. Now for part 4, calculate the area of the segment shaded in diagram 2. As you can see here, we're trying to find this area. So how can you find this area? So we have to observe and think, what can we use to find this area? Now, because we know the area of triangle DAB already, which is this one, right, DAB, the big one, we can first find the area of but sector DAB, the whole thing, and then minus area of the triangle to find that small part. Pretty easy, right? So let's do that. That will be area of the whole thing will be half r square. That will be 2.85, and because here this is not add math, so we cannot use that formula. We have to use a different one. Pretty easy as well. So let me explain. So right now we have this shape. We have this, and they are joined by an arc AB. AB, and this is D. And the angle here is 36. This is 2.85 and 2.85. So we're trying to find the area of that shape. That will be what area? That will be the angle will be 36 over 360 times pi r square for the area of circle, right? Pi is 3.142. Pi r square will be 2.85 square. So let's see what do you get. 36 divided by 360 times 3.142 times 2.85 square. That will be 2.552. This is the area of the whole thing. Now to find this area of segment, we have to take the area of the whole thing, 2.552 minus 2.39 from part 1, which is the area of the triangle. So right now right now we are only looking for this one, right? So we have to remove the area of triangle. So that will give you what? 2.552 minus 2.39, that will be 0.162 for the area of that segment for part 4. Now finally we have to find the area of the face of A, B, C, D, E of the coin. So area of everything together. So pretty easy, because if you observe, if you were to connect this to this, this to this, this to this by straight lines, you can see very simply that. So this is the same as this, this, and this. But what is the area on the inside? It is the area of the pentagon, exactly. So this is why it is only one mark, because it is easy. You don't need to do much work. So first thing first, have to take 5 multiply by 0.162. So basically 5 times this area, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So times 5, and then plus, you have to plus the area on the inside, which is the area of the pentagon, right here, which we found from this one, which was 5.35. Let's see what do you get. That will be 6.16, and that will be centimeters square as the area of that coin. And that will be your question number 10. Okay, so let's move on to question number 11. So in the diagram we have OAB is a triangle. So OAB is a triangle. Good. Now the point C is on AB such that AC is to the ratio of CB is 2 to 1. Now the point C is on AB such that the ratio of AC to CB is 2 to 1. That will be 2. That will be 1. Okay, that's the ratio of AC to CB. Now next one, the side OB is produced, okay, to the point D right here, such that OB to BD is 3 to 2. So the ratio of this will be 3, this will be 2. Okay, good to know. Now it is given that OA is A, okay, and OB is B. Now part 1, express as simply as possible in terms of A and OB. Part 1, find AB. So pretty easy. So AB means from A go to B. So from A, we first have to go to O, and then O to B. Now what is AO? We know OA is A, but in the opposite direction, that should be minus A, right? Minus A, and then OB will be B. That will be part 1. Now for part 2, find AC. AC will be what? As you can see here, AC is 2 of AB, because everything, so here we have 1, 2, but together AC, so AB together will be 3. So let me write this down. We can conclude from that ratio that AC has to be 2 2, because we know it is 2 over 3 of AB, if that makes sense, right? Because AB is together 3. Now simplify. AB we know is minus A plus B, so this will be your answer. Of course, you can expand and simplify, up to you to find the answer. Now for part C, we have to find OC. Now where's OC? From O, how do you go to C? So pretty easy. We can first go O, go to A, and A go to C. Okay, so O go to A, that will be OA, that will be A, right? And then A go to C, that will be AC, that will be this minus A plus B. So simplify. Let's see what do we get. So A minus 2 over 3A plus 2 over 3B. That will be 1 over 3A plus 2 over 3B. Now for part D, for part 4, find OD. Now how would you find OD? So pretty simple. You use the ratio given to you. You know that together here, there's actually no need for together. Let's see how can we do that. So to find OD, we must have to first go to OB and then B go to D. So let's do that. So to find OD, according to the diagram, from O we can go to B, and from B we can go to D. That will be OB is, as you can see, B. But now what is BD? Now you can see that B, so the ratio is 3 to 2, but this is 3, OB is 3, so we know 3 represents B, which means 1 will be B over 3. Now we know this is BD is 2, 2 has to be 2B over 3. Now so BD has to be 2B over 3. So simplify to what? That should be, that will be over 1 right now, so make it become the same base. That should be 5B over 3. Okay, so, or you can just use a calculator. So 1 plus 2 over 3, that will be this value. So expand, you'll get this. So finally, OD will be 5B over 3. Okay, that will be your question, part A. Now for part B, we have to show that CD equal to B minus 1 over 3A. Now where's CD? CD, from the point C, we have to go to D in this direction. So what can we do? We can first, from C, so let me write this here. So from C, we can first go to B, and then from B, we can go to D. So this will be what? This will be 1, so 1 over 3 of AB, which is given to you by minus A plus this, and then BD, as we have seen, it is 2 this. So now we can simplify. Let me write this here. Expand the brackets, you will have minus 1 over 3A plus 1 over 3B plus 2 over 3B. So simplify to this 1 over 3 plus 2 over 3, that should be 1, so B minus 1 over 3A. This is shown as required for part B. Okay. Now for part C, it is given that E is a point on OA. Okay, such that OE is 5 over 9A. Okay, so this is your point E, and the length or the value of OE is 5 over 9A. That is given to you by your question. Now express as simply as possible the vector ED. So from E going to D. So how can you go from E to D? So let's see. As always, step by step. From E, I can first go to O. From O, I can go to D, right? So E go to O go to D. This is how you can find ED. Right, in this direction. Now we know that OE is given by this vector, so EO will be in the opposite direction, so that should be minus 5 over 9, right? Okay, and then OD, as you have seen here, it is 5 over 3b. So that should be plus 5 over 3b. So let me write this down again. Simply as possible, we have minus 5 over 9a plus 5 over 3b for this part C. Now for part D, we have to show that ED is equal to KCD, where K is a constant. Okay, so let me write these values together. So first thing first, we have ED that we have found was what? Was minus 5 over 9a plus 5 over 3b. That's the first thing we have seen. Now next one, we have CD. Now what is CD? CD was found from this one, which is b minus 1 over 3a. Or you can write this as minus 1 over 3a plus b. So they are kind of similar. We can compare them with each other. So now one thing we can do now is what? Let's see how we can try to factorize or compare them with each other. So here what I can do, I can try to take out the value of 1 over 3. You will have minus a plus 3b on the inside. Now for this one, I can try to try to remove the base. So how do I do this? I can try to take out the value of 1 over 9. You will have minus 5a plus 15b, right? Because if you were to expand this, you will get back the same thing. Now one more time, I can also simplify again. If you observe, take out the value of 5. You have 5 over 9. That will be minus a plus 3b. So basically now we have these can be written as this can be written as this. Now just rewrite this back in the equation. So on one side I have what? I have ED is 5 over 9, and this is simply, so because they're the same thing, let's call this V. They're the same thing, right? Let's call this V. So V is equal to something, and that will be what? That will be so K, right? K is a something, and CD is this one, which is 1 over 3V. Now first thing first, we can cancel out the value of V, right? They are the same on both sides. Now we need to find the value of K. So we have, right now we have 5 over 9 equal to K over 3. So to find K, we can just cross multiply, send this over here. K will be 3 times 5 over 9. That will be 5 over 3. So finally, we conclude that from this, that ED is 5 over 3 of CD. So the goal here is to find the value of K by trying to make this become the same and then replace back in the equation so they can cancel out, and then we can find the value of K step by step. Okay, so that will be part D1. Now for part 2, what can we write? Part 2 here. So write two facts about ED and CD. So one we can write, because they are a multiple of each other, you can write down they are collinear. Collinear means they lie on the same line. And then you can show that this is ED is equal to 5 over 3 CD. So you can write that as well for the two facts about them. Okay, so that will be your answer for part 2 of D. Now finally, we have to find the area of triangle AEC over the area of triangle OEC. Let's see why is that. First one, AEC is this one, right? AEC. And we have to find the area of OEC, of this one. Okay, so we have the ratio of those two. Now how can you find this? So how do you find area of a triangle usually? You will do half times base times height. So let me write this down. The first thing we know, as always, is that we know that the area of triangle is given by half times base and times height. Okay, so now we know this is the base here. OE, what is the value of OE? It is given to you by 5 over 9a, right? So 5 over 9a will be this value. So from this you can conclude that the base EA should be 4 over 9. Why? Because you know that OA is A, right? If this is 5 over 9, remainder will be 4 over 9 for the base of EA. Now let's find the area of triangle AEC. So as you can see, because they are part of the same big triangle, it means that they will have the same perpendicular height. The height will be h for both of the triangle. So let's first find the area of AEC. That will be AEC half times base is 4 over 9a times height, and triangle of OEC, that will be half times base will be 5 over 9a and then times height h. Simplify the ratio. As you can see, these values will be cancelled. Half h cancel. So you will have in the end 4 over 9 divided by 5 over 9. Now as you know, whenever you have divide, we can change to multiply. So 4 over 9 multiply, you just have to flip this one upside down. That will be 9 over 5. So they will cancel out. 4 over 5 will be your answer for the ratio of the triangles as follows. Okay, as you can see, these questions are not as simple as you would expect. You have to do some work, understand what is given to you, how to find the answers. It is not very easy, I would say. You have to definitely be careful and proceed step by step. But as you can see, everything on the question you have to use. So they give you the information. There's always a reason why they give you those values and those information. So you have to use them to find your answer. So this will be your question number 11. I hope that was somewhat helpful. As always, thank you for watching. I will see you soon.